You're watching BBC News. Staying in the U.S., and there's been confusion in Georgia today. A court in Fulton County is looking into election interference in the state, and jurors could hand down an indictment against former President Donald Trump. Now, according to the Reuters news agency, a charging document was posted online and then quickly removed from the Fulton County Court's website. Shortly afterwards, a spokesperson for the district attorney's office said, quote, "The Reuters report that those charges were filed is inaccurate. Beyond that, we cannot comment." So it is still unclear what exactly happened and when we might have an official update from the court. But the Fulton County District Attorney, Fani Willis, is widely expected to ask a grand jury to charge Mr. Trump over efforts to overturn the election results in the state of Georgia. Mr. Trump has denied any wrongdoing, calling the investigations politically motivated and a witch hunt. Officials have heightened security in Atlanta, erecting barricades outside the court. Mr. Trump has already been indicted 3 times, once in the state of New York, twice more in federal charges. Now, the Georgia investigation has been going on for 2.5 years, and you might remember this now infamous audio recording of the former president calling Brad Raffensperger, Georgia Secretary of State, on January 2nd, 2021. Take a listen.
You can't let it happen, and you are letting it happen. I'm notifying you that you're letting it happen. So, look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state.
Joining me now is Sarah Krisoff, a former federal prosecutor in the state of New York, and public opinion pollster John Zogby. Great to have you both with me. Sarah, I want to start with you because there is, of course, a lot of anticipation to see what's going to happen. We understand that the grand jury is hearing more testimony in this case. What do you think we can expect to see?
I think it's pretty clear we'll see an indictment coming out of Georgia sometime this week. The messaging has been clear out of the district attorney's office of it, and we've had that little zoop from them today where they appear to have posted something related to the charges and then taken that down. So it very much looks like we'll see those charges sometime this week, perhaps in the next few days.
So a lot of the evidence, Sarah, related to the Georgia case, we have seen much of it, at least, in the January 6th committee in the House of Representatives in their hearings that they held, and also in the other federal indictment, the second federal indictment over efforts to overturn the election results. What do you think we're going to see the grand jury and also the prosecutors here present?
So I think what's interesting, what I'm really looking for is to see if there are other individuals charged. I think that's a real possibility here, that other members of Trump's team, his agents in Georgia here, are charged in connection with this case. I'm also really interested in sort of what the statutes they're using here are. There's been talk about the racketeering statutes and sort of the flexibility of those statutes as applied to this set of facts. Because as you said, as you aptly noted, we have a pretty good idea of what the facts are. It's just going to be interesting to sort of see how the district attorney's office chooses what laws to apply here.
All right, John, coming to you now, we know that according to Georgia law, if a judge approves these proceedings, if there is a trial, could actually be televised. From the perspective of the former president, we've seen these previous 3 indictments that he's faced actually strengthen his position in the polls. Does it help him to have a trial possibly televised?
Absolutely. If we're talking about the Republican primaries, he gets exactly what he wishes, to be a star on television, be a victim among the core Republican base. It does not help independents and moderates, not one bit. In fact, on a national level, head-to-head with Joe Biden, Donald Trump is stuck in the low 40s. Joe Biden is stuck in the 30s. Americans don't really care for either candidates. And in that vein, does not help Donald Trump to be on trial generally.
John, I want to ask you, we spoke to the pollster, Frank Lentz, last week, and he told us that, on the extremes of the political spectrum, Americans do care about this case, but around 60% of people in the middle don't really care. Have you found that to be the case?
Oh, absolutely. Do not care is probably the correct word. It's mainly that they have so many other concerns. And it's not just the obvious, the supermarket, the fuel at the pump, the education, and that sort of thing. It is, but there are so many vast technological changes that are taking place. A lot of people are worried about what's next and about security. They're worried about the climate, worried about the weather, let alone the climate. Once they see, events like Maui or California burning, or Phoenix, Arizona at 100 degrees for an entire month. And so, yeah, I think in that vein, then there are a lot of folks. We've got the numbers to show it, 60%. But what they're really saying is, what's this got to do with me?
Yeah, well, Sarah, coming back to you, regardless, we're going to see a lot of attention, of course, also media attention on the possible trials that we're going to see coming out of Georgia as well. We know right now that there have been 3 indictments, Sarah, and we've already been talking about the fact that it's going to be really difficult to schedule all of these trials in the middle of an election campaign. Where does another state trial in Georgia possibly fit into that?
So it's going to be really hard to slot this case in with all of the other cases. And so even the schedules that have been set or proposed in the other matters, I know there's 2 of the schedules have been set, one has just been proposed, are very ambitious. And so just insert a 4th criminal case in here, they make things very difficult for scheduling purposes. And you have to think about there are incredibly important things at stake, but there is, the schedule has to be designed to sort of favor the defendant in these types of cases. That's just sort of what happens. Cases can't be pushed forward unless if it's going to sort of infringe on the defendant's constitutional rights.
Sarah, as you said, there's every indication that the prosecutor's office here does appear ready to indict, and that's what we are expecting to see this week. If that is the case, what do you think the Trump team's strategy is going to be here? Will it be similar to the other cases to try to delay the possibility of a trial?
I think they will try to delay this trial. I think they're going to try to run this case sort of simultaneously to the Washington case, although the special prosecutor is certainly, special counsel is certainly trying to push that case forward very quickly with this proposed January trial date. But I think if you're on Trump's team, your mantra has to be delay, delay, delay at this point. They're reasonable delays, frankly, given sort of the amount of evidence and the number of criminal cases that are mounting here.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. And John, another question for you, looking at the bigger picture here. We saw all of the Republican candidates, more or less, for the presidential nomination descending on the Iowa State Fair, including the former president on Saturday. How do you think the other candidates are looking at all of this and trying to perhaps gain some traction from the former president's legal troubles?
I'll tell you what I'm looking for, and I wonder if I'm going to see, is one of the main front runners, and I'm not including Chris Christie or Asa Hutchinson, but a Ron DeSantis or a Tim Scott. I wonder at what point they begin to see it's time to break away and break away from Donald Trump. I know that they'll say, I know that he's got that MAGA crowd, Make America Great Again crowd base on his side, but at what point do they differentiate themselves from that base and say, we've got to move forward, different kind of message? Remains to be seen if we'll see it.
All right. Really interesting conversation with you, John and Sarah. Thank you both. Great to talk to you.